At first glance, it seems like most pop stars really do have it all. But look past the music, and you'll find that some of the world's most beloved performers have lived deeply troubled lives. Here are the tragic stories behind pop's biggest stars. In rock and roll's early days, many parents referred to the music that entertained their children as devil's music. Indeed, religious parents and secular music tend to mix like oil and a match. Just ask Katy Perry. Once upon a time, Perry's parents, Keith and Mary Hudson, were far from the ultra-religious couple that the young singer came to know. In the 1960s, the pair were caught up in that decade's iconic counterculture, hanging out with celebrities and using psychedelic drugs. Mary Hudson even dated rock singer Jimi Hendrix, while Keith Hudson helped manufacture and sell LSD for the famed psychologist Timothy Leary. By the end of the 1970s, however, the Hudsons had swapped their peace signs for crucifixes, having become Pentecostal preachers. In a 2011 interview with Vanity Fair, Perry told stories about her strict Christian upbringing. For example, she was forbidden to use words such as deviled eggs, once picketed a Marilyn Manson concert, and, when she decided to become a musician, released a self-titled Christian album before converting to mainstream pop. Tabloid stories have since suggested that Perry's parents disavowed her music, insisting that she had been lured away by Satan. Perry does still sometimes make public appearances with them, so it's clear they're still close, but the singer has never had any trouble pushing back on her parents' beliefs. Pink Floyd were one of the most iconic bands of the 20th century, and much of the group's success came thanks to the talent of lead guitarist and singer-songwriter Syd Barrett. The band's iconic first album would be the only one to feature Barrett, however, as his mental illness and spiraling addiction to drugs ended up destroying his career. Barrett co-founded the band in 1965 while in college with Roger Waters, Nick Mason, and Richard Wright. At the same time, however, Barrett had begun to use psychedelic drugs, which famously came to influence the group's work. Following the release of their first album, Barrett's drug addiction worsened, as did his mental and physical health. Nowadays, it's believed that he suffered from undiagnosed schizophrenia, but the true nature of his illness simply wasn't understood at the time. As Roger Waters later pointed out,
if you were in the position of being an incipient schizophrenic like he was, any hallucinogenics are a very bad thing.
By March 1968, Barrett was no longer a part of the group, having been replaced by Dave Gilmour. Barrett then recorded 2 solo albums with the help of his former bandmates and attempted to form a number of new bands with little to no success. Barrett soon disappeared from public life and died in 2006 at the age of 60. Nicknamed the King of R&B, Bobby Brown's success in the music industry was preceded by a truly difficult childhood. By the time Brown was 11, he was already a member of a gang. He had been shot, stabbed, and had even watched a childhood friend bleed to death. Brown was able to overcome all of this early trauma, however, to achieve success both as a member of New Edition and as a solo artist. But things didn't get much easier from there. In September 1995, while exiting a bar, Brown's bodyguard and his younger sister's fiancé were gunned down. Brown barely escaped with his life. In 1992, Brown married the iconic singer Whitney Houston. The marriage was marred with drug abuse and allegations of physical abuse, and the pair split in 2007. 5 years later, Houston died of an accidental drowning at age 48. In 2015, Bobby Christina, the couple's daughter, died in a similar circumstance at age 22. Both women had drugs in their systems at the time of their death. And then, to top it all off, Brown's son from another relationship, Bobby Brown Jr., died in November 2020 at just 28 years old. Over the course of 2020, the conservatorship of Britney Spears has become a long-running and controversial story. It began in 2008 when Spears' father, Jamie Spears, was granted a temporary conservatorship over his daughter. This came after his daughter suffered a very public mental breakdown in 2007. The episode included her shaving off her own hair, driving with her young son on her lap, and attacking a cameraman with an umbrella. The conservatorship had been marred with controversy, however, including the allegation that Jamie Spears had briefly held the singer against her will in a psychiatric facility in early 2019. In response, a Free Britney movement sprung up, supported by the ACLU and a number of celebrities. In September 2019, Jamie Spears temporarily stepped down from his role over his own health concerns, and the responsibility was handed to Britney's longtime care manager, Jody Montgomery. However, People magazine reported in August 2020 that Britney strongly opposed Jamie returning to the conservatorship. Her attorneys subsequently filed a motion to remove him permanently from the role, hoping to replace him with a qualified corporate fiduciary. Unfortunately for Britney, the judge sided with Jamie Spears in her ruling. The story of Marvin Gaye's death at the hands of his father remains one of music history's most disturbing tales. Gaye became highly renowned during his career, but he also struggled with substance abuse and depression, and it's easy to see why. Marvin Jr. was one of 4 children between Marvin Sr. and Alberta Cooper. Marvin Jr.'s father was a Pentecostal preacher, and he frequently beat his children. Marvin Jr.'s sister, Jean, later said that from age 7 to his teen years, Marvin's life was filled with brutal whippings. Discussing the relationship between father and son, Gaye's biographer Steve Turner writes, Marvin's relationship with his father made him who he was. His need to be successful, find love, and then take drugs, no matter what he achieved with his songs, all he got was resentment and criticism. In 1984, Gaye attempted to intervene in a fight between his parents. During the confrontation, Marvin Sr. shot his son in the heart and shoulder. The legendary singer died just 1 day before his 45th birthday. Marvin Sr. pleaded guilty to voluntary manslaughter and received a 6-year suspended sentence. He died of pneumonia in 1998. There's a long list of pop stars who hid or downplayed their sexuality in order to maintain their careers. From Dusty Springfield to Elton John and Liberace to George Michael, countless artists have been forced to remain in the closet, with only select people knowing the truth. In an interview on Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen, singer Patti LaBelle discussed her late friend Luther Vandross and his decision to remain in the closet. LaBelle met Vandross when he was just a teen, and she was a member of the Bluebells. The pair became friends and collaborated throughout their careers. On Cohen's show in 2017, LaBelle was asked about why she thought Vandross hid his sexuality.
And he had a lot of lady fans, and he told me that he just didn't want to upset the world.
Vandross died in 2005 of a heart attack, having never publicly come out of the closet. In the music industry, however, Vandross's true sexuality wasn't much of a secret. His friend Bruce Valanche wrote a feature in Out detailing Vandross's life in the LGBT community. According to Valanche, Vandross's longest relationship was with another man who he lived with between the 1980s and early 1990s. When Mariah Carey burst onto the music scene at the beginning of the 1990s, her voice alone made her an instant and iconic superstar. While she found further success during that decade, she also found success in love, or so she hoped, when she married the chairman of Sony Music, Tommy Mottola. Unfortunately, when later describing the failed marriage, Carey described herself as a child bride, referencing both their age difference and the uneven power dynamic within the relationship. Carey has admitted that, while not being physically attracted to Mottola, she still trusted him when they married in 1993. Carey described the couple's home as Sing Sing, referring to the maximum security prison in New York, as Mottola had armed guards and security cameras around their house. According to Carey, their relationship was manipulative and violent. Mottola controlled Carey's career and musical direction. He also wanted Carey to be more mainstream, which she took to mean more white. And in one disturbing episode, Mottola threatened her by holding a butter knife to her face. In his own autobiography, Hitmaker, The Man and His Music, Mottola acknowledges their relationship as absolutely wrong and inappropriate, though he also denied that he was a controlling husband. The pair divorced in 1998. Eminem's story very much matches the rags to riches story so often found in hip-hop. Born Marshall Mathers, Eminem's father left the family when the rapper was just a toddler and frequently rebuked his son's attempts to contact him, leaving the family in poverty. Eminem and his mother, Debbie, moved around the country looking for work, pulling him in and out of school multiple times a year. This led the young boy to develop a loner personality and even being labeled mentally disabled by teachers. Inevitably, bullying soon followed. The worst incident led to Eminem being put into a coma and having to relearn his motor skills. On his 1999 album, The Slim Shady LP, he rapped about the incident on the song Brain Damage. The bully mentioned in the song, D'Angelo Bailey, sued the rapper for using his name, though the judge ruled in Eminem's favor. On top of all this, Eminem's relationship with his mother was strained. In the song Cleaning Out My Closet, he raps about her failures as a parent. Debbie later sued her son for defamation of character, demanding $11 million, though she received only $1,600 of the $25,000 settlement agreed upon. Eventually, the two reconciled and are now on better terms. In-band couples have produced some of the greatest pop music of all time. Much of the time, however, these relationships have come to an end, and the bands often go with them. Lauryn Hill's time with the Fugees saw her and bandmate Wyclef Jean go through this particular emotional roller coaster. The Fugees formed in 1992 and featured Hill, Wyclef Jean, and Pras Michel. By the time they had broken up in 1997, they had just released their most commercial and critically successful work, The Score. And the untimely breakup of the band was due in large part to a breakup between Hill and Jean. Following the end of the Fugees and the success of her first solo album, Hill began to spend time with a spiritual advisor named Brother Anthony, who some have likened to the leader of a cult. During this time, she fired her management team and became more secluded. Those around her were wary of Anthony, however, believing he was preying on her vulnerabilities and pushing her to be more outspoken. Hill herself has endured further controversies in the years since, although Brother Anthony's ultimate fate remains unknown. Sinead O'Connor's childhood was one of emotional, physical, and sexual torment suffered at the hands of her mother. O'Connor's mother died in a car crash in 1986 before O'Connor's debut album was released, something she didn't seem all that torn up about during a later interview with Dr. Phil.
What do you love about your mother?
The first thing that came to my mind actually is that she's dead.
O'Connor's mother, Marie, was a dressmaker who gave up her career to raise her and her 3 siblings. The singer believed the lack of a creative outlet and postnatal depression sparked her abusive behavior. O'Connor's father, Sean, moved out of their home, leaving the children with their disturbed mother. O'Connor later described the home as a torture chamber and theorized that her mother was either a sadist and a pedophile, or she was possessed by the devil. She recalled that between the ages of 3 to 12, she was assaulted several times and attempted suicide several times in a single year. O'Connor finally escaped her mother's home at 13 years old. If you or anyone you know is having suicidal thoughts, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline at 1-800-273-TALK. That's 1-800-273-8255.